Hey folks, Steve here, and as the weekend is reaching its end, I thought I'd fit in a quick video here while I can, with some short amount of time, cover an unboxing video for Dune, the board game, a game of conquest, diplomacy, and betrayal. I just got this in the mail. I'm kind of late to the game. I had originally had this pre-ordered through like Amazon and different things, and then I had to cancel that because the vendor who I was getting it through via Amazon had an issue. I don't know. Basically, I'm several weeks or even a month behind on getting Dune. And is this a war game? Well, it's a war game plus a diplomatic game, a influence game. It's kind of hard to describe. And I have played it. I've played it at a few conventions with the support of people who already knew how to play. And what is eventful about this past year has been that Dune, this board game here, well, this is the new printing, a new edition for the modern age. Dune, the board game, has been around for decades, but it has been out of print. Now, I have to hope you know that Dune, the board game, is based on Dune, the novel series, and really the Dune franchise, which has had different movies, miniseries, whatever, based on it, video games and everything else. Dune is a novel by Frank Herbert. He had written it, back in the 60s? I can't remember exactly. And for me, personally, Dune was like the first sci-fi novel, or really the first real novel that I ever read that really got me into reading and opened the door to what reading could be, right? It's a very cheesy thing, but we're talking about, when I was 12 years old, right? And, I read some books, but nothing quite like Dune, and Dune was that first sort of entryway into a much broader world of novels, fantasy, sci-fi, and so on. And so Dune's very important to me for that reason. And I'll just say right away, if you're interested in reading the Dune novels, my personal recommendation, read the first novel, see how you like it. And if you decide you want to go further, read Dune Messiah, which is the second book, Children of Dune, which is the third book, and then I feel you must read God, Emperor of Dune, which is the fourth book. And I think that's a great place to just stop. Like, that's really the Dune saga, or the first four books. There are two other books by Frank Herbert, which, they're a little wacky, but nothing in those books really, I guess, like flies in the face of what the fourth book says about what's going to happen after the fourth book. So it's like, the story and the things that are coming about are really, I think, settled in the fourth book, and the fifth and sixth book are just sort of more stuff going on. And the six original Dune novels are all you should ever read. Never, ever, ever read Brian Herbert's, his son's, book series that he co-authored with Kevin J. Anderson. Just don't do it. Just say no to Brian Herbert. Just say no. Just say no. Read the original six books if you're going to read them all. But like I said, I think there's some logical stopping points where, it might be better just to stop there and just enjoy the story for what it is. And of course, with the new Dune movie coming out, that has helped solve this problem of this game being out of print, because what happened was, the board game came out, the board game was pretty popular, but then the Herbert estate, all the folks who own the franchise materials, basically never got it to anybody to reprint. And Fantasy Flight Games did sort of this weird other game called Rex, I think, is what it's called, and it's sort of a riff off of Dune, but it's not Dune, right? It's close, pretty similar system, but it is not Dune, it's not the Dune franchise. It's based on the Twilight Imperium franchise. So finally, with the new movie coming out here in the next year, I think, or something like that, basically the Herbert estate was willing to shop the IP around for board game stuff, and Gale Force 9 managed to pick it up and have gotten us a reprint. And this reprint uses some artwork and sort of map-type stuff from a guy who on the web was creating these art pieces for, like, print your own version of the game. So in those decades of the games out of print, and today, there's been sort of this cult following of people who play it at conventions. They've done their own, like, print and play versions of the game. they've mangled with different house rules and all this other stuff. And so this is trying to bring, that the old game to the forefront, with some of the artwork that somebody had done for print and play your own, and he did a really good job. So they incorporated all that. He got the right credit that he always deserved for that work he did, and we have the game in front of us, right? Long preamble, but Dune is such an important franchise, and the movie's coming out, and there's going to be neat stuff to look at there. I really like the sci-fi miniseries from back in 2000, but that's just me. We'll see how the new movie goes, and I will get the shrink wrapped off this sucker, and we'll get into it. And while I'm ripping the shrink off, I will just say that, yes, Dune, as a story, if you're unfamiliar, will involve a lot of things that are, we'll say, hero's journey-esque, right? And people talk about, oh, well, Star Wars stole from Dune. It didn't really steal much from Dune. I mean, you could point out some really surface-level stuff about Dune and what maybe Star Wars took from it, but I don't think it stole very much. Not the stuff of substance that really matters. Because you have to understand that Dune is a story, the narrative of Dune is a story of a hero's journey, but Frank Herbert was deconstructing the hero's journey in a way before, folks even really appreciated that hero's journey. And some of it is because Frank had written the story as sort of even a deconstruction of this, like the savior trope, right? A savior who's going to solve everybody's problems, the hero. And a lot of folks don't get that. They just think that Paul Atreides, the protagonist, is this just really good guy, and the reality is it's a little more complicated than that. But anyway, no spoilers. We're going to... Let's get this thing unboxed. So, square box, right? And inside, this is the top, we get a quick start guide. That is convenient. Showing the different factions. So you have the Atreides, who are the principal good guys of the original story, the Harkonnens, the villains, the Bene Gesserit, the sort of side faction, Spacing Guild, the Fremen, the Emperor, Shaddam the Fourth. So it looks like this quick start guide kind of helps you with setup, kind of takes you through the different phases, it looks like, all, color illustrated with pictures as examples. So this will be kind of cool. I will want to read through this and see how well it matches to my understanding of the game. It's been a year or two since I've actually played from the last time. The rule book, which matches the form factor of the box, which some people can be a little unwieldy, but whatever. Full color, very much, like I don't own any Gale Force 9 games besides this one, but very similar, I think, in quality what you might find in a Fantasy Flight game. So plenty of decent information. Oh wow, a Dune synopsis. Wow. Oh, well, for those folks who don't know, this might be a good little primer for you. And it looks like each faction gets a little write-up in here to kind of help understand what you should be doing and why, which is pretty cool. I'll say, if you're unfamiliar with this game, that each faction plays very differently, almost to the point of it's too complicated for a lot of people. It looks like we get some standee here, so you can hide certain, if you have money, you're hiding how much money you have behind these things. These will fold. Set these aside. Player cards, so again, just to kind of help you remind yourself what can you do and what are you doing. They don't have backs on them, so just straightforward to place them on the table and reference that along with your bendy hidey screen. And then it looks like we get 5 sheets of counters. Now you can see these are going to correspond to the faction with the different colors. There are, I think these are elite units. A whole bunch of, I think this is money. And then, oh boy, the battle wheel. Okay, I gotta talk about this. The battle wheel's a real kooky thing. You get 2, which is nice. So you gotta put the wheel together, and basically, if you're gonna fight and you're gonna use a leader, you're gonna, it's sort of like, gosh, it's almost like betting. You're gonna say, I'm gonna use this much force, and I'm going to use this leader and then I'm going to reveal this, like, as it's hidden from view from your opponent. Then you reveal it. It's a whole thing. It's really kind of it's kind of weird. Oh, excellent! The destroyed shield wall, the desert storms. Oh yeah, this is all looking good. This is looking good. Good stuff. And then I'll point out that just in terms of the thickness of these counter sheets, an individual counter sheet that's pretty thick. So like once you get these punched, they're going to be nice, solid little tokens. So that's nice. So overall, I think the quality is pretty good as far as I can tell here. Then it looks like, oh, you got a nice organizer tray here. Looks like it'll probably hold everything that you care about. And then you get the map, and the map's not terribly big. I'm going to move the camera a little bit so you can kind of see. It's not terribly big. And you have these different sections of the map with sort of this rotating thing showing where the recurring storms are, some turn type information up here, Talaxu tanks, the Spice Bank, all this stuff, which I can't really get into here. And then you have the city areas, so there's Siege Tabur, Carthag, Arakeen, Tuek Siege, Habenya Siege, and then all these other regions. And all these other regions are kind of out in the desert. It's dangerous there. In a lot of ways, you try to keep to these like rocky regions where the sandworms can't get you, and where there's safety from the storms. And then there's the shield wall, which can be destroyed with atomic weapons, as, I don't want to get into spoilers, guys, which happens, and basically you can wipe out a lot of people with it. You can get some pretty crazy stuff there. So that's all goodness. And then it looks like, and I'll spin us back to the box. So it looks like we've got our little things to put the battle wheels together. Again, these different compartments, which should hold everything well. And it looks like we have two different card holder sections. And now I don't think I'm going to rip open all these little card packs because you get a variety of them. But, oh boy, Kwisatz Haderach, uh-oh. So these are some sort of power cards, I'm not sure. These are, event cards? I'm trying to remember, it's been so long since I've actually played. Sequence of play reference cards, so that's nice. Prediction cards, these are Bene Gesserit cards. Trader cards, which is a whole thing. Each faction may have a hero who is actually a traitor, and some factions will know who the traitors are. Oh my god, this game's intense, guys. The spice card, which will reveal where there'll be spice blow, which will help you get money and different things. Treachery cards, which are sort of like event cards, but different. It's hard to explain. Now, it's interesting that, when I look at this, there's a lot more room for cards than there are cards, which makes me wonder, is this hinting we will have expansion cards? Because otherwise what I'm afraid of is like you pick up the game, you're taking it to your friend's house, you move it, and the cards are going to come falling out of there and getting tossed all over the place. But I've got some ways I can deal with that with some card tuck boxes or something, but yeah. So okay, there we go. That's unboxing Dune, a game of conquest, diplomacy, and betrayal. Again, Dune franchise is near and dear to my heart. It is really, I think, an important franchise, even if most people don't really understand what the lessons are from the story, broadly speaking. We'll see how well the movie does. I think the movie is going to take the Hollywood angle on it, and they won't really address the issues with the whole thing. But there you go. Looks like it's a pretty complete package. Now, I've tried to look into, what's changed. I think there was some streamlining attempted, very minor streamlining attempted to try to put some cohesiveness around the optional rules, because I believe there were some optional rules. But the base standard rules should be about the same as they've always been. But again, this game has sort of mutated out there in the community for a while, and there could be people, who are playing it a little bit differently. But you know what? I'm just glad to have a copy of this thing. Very cool. I look forward to trying to play it again because it's been, like I said, a couple of years since I've done it. I really like Dune. I think it's a cool game. I think it's a cool franchise, so we'll see how it goes when I get to it. Probably won't cover it much on this channel, but, well, there you have it. So, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time. Keep on gaming.